The stars above the world of Aurelian Prime did not flicker. They burned, cold, white, and ancient, like the eyes of gods who had already decided the outcome. From the upper terraces of the crystal citadel, one could see the planet's twin moons hanging motionless in the violet sky. Their light washed over spires of living crystal and flowing metallic bridges where gravity bent gently, as if even physics obeyed the ruling species of this world. The Aurelians called themselves the firstborn of order. Tall, luminous, symmetrical to a fault. Their skin shimmered like pearl in starlight, their eyes faceted and radiant, capable of seeing spectrums humans never knew existed. Their civilization had ruled this sector of space for 10,000 cycles, and in that time they had come to believe something very simple. They were superior, and everyone else existed to prove it, especially humans. Humans were tolerated, nothing more, useful for trade, occasionally for labor, never for counsel, never for intimacy, and never for blood. That was the law. And now the law was killing their princess. Princess Valith Oren Shaw, first light of the Aurelians, lay dying beneath a ceiling of refracted starlight. The royal Medici chamber was silent, except for the low harmonic hum of healing fields and the faint, irregular faltering of her bioluminal pulse. Physicians, some of the most advanced minds in 3 systems, stood helplessly around her crystalline resting dais. Her once brilliant glow had dimmed to a pale, flickering haze. "The decay is accelerating," whispered one healer, his voice trembling despite centuries of training. "It makes no sense," O'Reilly replied sharply. "Her genome is flawless." But it wasn't flawless anymore. Aurelian physiology relied on a rare biocrystalline protein synthesized only in their royal bloodlines. It allowed their cells to regenerate, adapt, and endure cosmic radiation that would annihilate lesser beings. But Valith's body had stopped producing it. No regeneration, no adaptation, only slow, inevitable collapse. "We have exhausted every option," said High Chancellor Serex, his voice rigid with barely contained fear. "If the synthesis does not resume within 12 cycles, the light will fade." A wordless horror passed through the chamber. The first light dying was unthinkable, and yet it was happening. Beyond the Medici wing, in a restricted observation corridor, a human stood very still. His name was Elias Ward. He was not a soldier, not a diplomat, not important by galactic standards. He was a systems engineer assigned to Aurelian Prime as part of a human trade delegation. He wore no armor, no insignia, just a plain gray uniform and a badge that marked him as auxiliary personnel. Invisible, forgettable. That was how the Aurelians preferred their humans. Elias had been repairing a power conduit when he overheard the whispers. He hadn't meant to listen, but when you hear words like dying and princess, they tend to cling to your mind. He watched through the transparent crystal barrier as the most advanced alien species he had ever known did nothing. They stood in silence, because they had reached the limit of their knowledge. Among the Aurelians, there was an unspoken rule. No species could save them, especially not humans. Human biology was considered crude, inefficient, chaotic, dangerously adaptive. Their immune systems overreacted, their blood coagulated unpredictably, their cells mutated under stress instead of maintaining purity. To Aurelians, human blood was toxic, forbidden. That law had been written centuries ago, after an early experiment ended with catastrophic cellular rejection in an Aurelian noble. Since then, Humans were barred from all biological interaction with royal bloodlines. Even now, as Velith's glow dimmed, no one dared question it. No one except Elias. He stared at the medical readout scrolling in alien script, his mind racing. Decay, protein collapse, failure to regenerate. It reminded him of something human. Elias stepped forward. The guards noticed immediately. Their spears hummed to life, energy fields snapping into place. "You are not permitted here," one of them intoned. "I know," Elias said quietly, "but she's dying." A murmur rippled through the corridor. "A human does not speak of Aurelian life," another guard said coldly. Elias swallowed, his heart hammered in his chest. "I've seen this before, not exactly like this, but similar. Degenerative collapse. Our bodies handle it differently." "You handle it poorly," Chancellor Sarek said as he approached, eyes blazing. "Your species dies of weakness." Elias met his gaze. "We die," he said, "but sometimes we survive things we shouldn't." That earned him laughter. Bitter, sharp, dismissive. "You think your crude flesh holds answers our civilization does not?" demanded Sarek. "No, I think our blood might." Silence fell like a blade. Every Aurelian in the chamber turned toward him. "You dare suggest?" Sarek began.
"I know it's forbidden," Elias said quickly. "I know your laws. But your princess doesn't have time for pride." The word pride struck like an insult. Guards tightened their grips. "Human blood is unstable," Sarek said. "It corrupts Aurelian systems." "Or it adapts," Elias replied. "Ours does that, a lot." The healers exchanged uneasy glances. "Speak carefully," one warned. Elias took a breath. "Our blood regenerates differently. It's aggressive. It doesn't wait for permission. It fights to survive. Sometimes it teaches other cells how to do the same." The chamber was utterly silent. "You're saying," Sarek said slowly, "that your blood could overwrite Aurelian biology?" "I'm saying," Elias replied, voice steady despite the fear clawing at him, "that if you do nothing, she dies. If you try this, she might live." A long moment passed. Then a healer spoke, hesitant, afraid. "There is a theoretical compatibility window," he admitted, "if introduced in micro quantities." Sarek's eyes widened. "You withheld this?" "It was dismissed as undesirable," the healer said. "Undesirable, because it involved humans." Elias didn't wait for permission. He stepped forward and removed his glove. "I'll do it," he said. The guards raised their weapons. "You will not contaminate royal blood." "Take mine," Elias said. "Test it, filter it, use whatever safeguards you need, but don't let her die because of who I am." The princess stirred faintly, her light flickering like a dying star. Something shifted in the room. Fear gave way to desperation. Sarek closed his eyes. "Prepare the chamber," he said quietly. "If this fails, history will curse this moment." Elias nodded. "If it fails," he said, "history won't remember me at all." The procedure was delicate. Human blood, refined, filtered, and reduced to a controlled infusion, was introduced into Velith's system. Elias lay on a medical platform beside her, pale but conscious, watching as machines hummed between them. Aurelian healers watched the readings with barely concealed dread. Rejection, instability, collapse, any of it could happen. At first, nothing did. Then Velith's light flickered and changed. Her glow deepened, warming, shifting hue. The monitor spiked. "Cellular response detected," a healer whispered.
Regeneration pathways activating, another said, stunned. The protein synthesis, dead moments ago, restarted. Human blood didn't overwrite Aurelian biology. It taught it how to fight. Valeth gasped. Her eyes opened. Light flooded the chamber. Elias let out a shaky breath as consciousness faded. The last thing he saw was an alien princess, alive, turning her radiant gaze toward him. When Elias woke, the world felt brighter. He was weak, sore, but alive, and he was not alone. Valeth stood beside his bed, no longer dim, her presence filling the room with gentle luminescence. "You gave me your life," she said softly. Elias tried to sit up, failed. "I gave you some blood," he muttered. "Humans do that." She tilted her head, studying him. "To us," she said, "blood is legacy. It is destiny." Her gaze softened. "And now," she continued, "it is bond." The doors opened. Chancellor Serex entered and bowed, deeply. "The Aurelians owe humanity a debt," he said, "and you a future." Valeth extended her hand toward Elias. "Stay," she said, "not as a servant, not as a curiosity." Her voice carried something new, reverence. "Stay," she repeated, "as my chosen." Elias blinked. He said weakly, "You move fast for an ancient species." A faint smile touched her lips. "Humans," she replied, "have taught us the value of urgency." History would record that day as the moment the Aurelians rewrote their laws. Human blood was no longer forbidden, human presence no longer dismissed. Because when the stars watched and pride failed, it was a human who bled so an empire could live. And that is why, across the galaxy, they say, humans don't conquer with strength. They don't rule with fear. They win by giving what no one else will, their own life, so others may rise. If this story moved you, subscribe for more Human Stories from the Stars.